The Detroit Lions offensive line just became the most interesting storyline in the entire NFL, and the decisions being made right now in Allen Park could completely redefine this franchise's championship trajectory. Welcome back to Lions News Fan Report, your absolute most trusted source for breaking updates, comprehensive analysis, and exclusive coverage of everything happening with our beloved Detroit Lions. I'm bringing you critical information today about a potential shift in strategy that addresses one of our biggest concerns, information about two players who could transform our offensive identity, and a scenario that has the potential to make this Lions team absolutely unstoppable heading into the playoffs. Make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell right now, because what I'm about to break down could change everything you thought you knew about Detroit's Super Bowl chances. Something significant is brewing in the NFL right now, and Lions fans need to pay very close attention to every detail before we get to the explosive possibility that's emerging. After Christian Mahogany went down with a broken ankle in Week 9 against Minnesota, the entire conversation around our offensive line changed overnight. Dan Campbell confirmed that Mahogany will be sidelined for a long time, and suddenly we're looking at a position group that was already showing some regression from the dominant force it was the previous two seasons, now facing even thinner depth and more uncertainty. The offensive line is the foundation of everything this Lions team does well. Our ability to run the football with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, to protect Jared Goff and give him time to find Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta downfield, to control the line of scrimmage and impose our will physically on opponents. All of that starts with having 5 elite players up front who can execute at the highest level. When you lose one of those pieces to injury, especially a guard position where the interior play is so critical to both run blocking and pass protection, it creates a domino effect that impacts your entire offensive system. Detroit made a move to address the immediate concern by signing rookie guard Jack Conley to the practice squad, which signals that the coaching staff is likely going to slide Tristan Cullen or Kingsley Eguakun into the starting lineup for Week 10 and beyond. Those are serviceable options, players who understand the system and can execute the fundamentals. But here's the harsh reality that every Lions fan needs to confront. Serviceable isn't enough when you're trying to win a Super Bowl. Championship teams don't just fill holes with adequate players. Championship teams find ways to turn weaknesses into strengths, to upgrade positions even when facing adversity, and to be aggressive in pursuit of elite talent. And that brings me to a situation that's been developing in Cleveland that could have massive implications for the Detroit Lions. The Browns are in complete disarray right now. They're not competing for a playoff spot. Their season is essentially over, and they have multiple veteran players on expensive contracts who don't fit their rebuilding timeline. When teams find themselves in that position, they typically become sellers, looking to move high-priced veterans to contending teams in exchange for draft picks or young assets that fit their long-term plans. Two names in particular stand out from Cleveland's roster as potential trade candidates: Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller. Both are multiple-time Pro Bowl guards. Both have been among the best interior offensive linemen in the NFL for years. And both represent exactly the kind of veteran presence and elite talent that a championship contender like the Lions should be targeting. These aren't just good players. These are difference makers, guys who elevate everyone around them, who bring championship-level experience and execution to every single snap. Let me give you some specific context on what makes these two players so special and why they would be perfect fits for what Dan Campbell is building in Detroit. Joel Bitonio is a 33-year-old veteran who has been selected to 6 Pro Bowls during his career. He's been the anchor of Cleveland's offensive line for over a decade. He's played both guard positions at an elite level, and he's known throughout the league as one of the smartest, most technically sound offensive linemen in football. When you watch Bitonio play, you see someone who understands leverage, who uses perfect hand placement, who anticipates defensive stunts and adjustments, and who consistently wins his individual matchups against some of the best defensive tackles in the NFL. Wyatt Teller is 29 years old and has made 3 Pro Bowls in his career. He's known as one of the most physically dominant interior linemen in football, a guard who can absolutely maul defenders in the run game and create massive holes for running backs. Teller has the kind of nastiness and physicality that Dan Campbell absolutely loves, the type of player who finishes blocks, who drives defenders into the ground, and who sets the tone for an entire offensive line with his intensity and aggression. When you need a yard on 4th and 1, when you need to impose your will in the 4th quarter, Wyatt Teller is exactly the kind of player you want on your offensive line. Now, imagine for a moment what the Detroit Lions offensive line would look like with both Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller added to the mix. You're talking about potentially having 2 Pro Bowl guards flanking Frank Ragnow, who is already one of the best centers in the NFL. You're talking about an interior offensive line that would be absolutely dominant, that could open up massive running lanes for Montgomery and Gibbs, that could give Goff all day to throw, and that would strike fear into defensive coordinators across the league. That's not just upgrading a position. That's creating a competitive advantage that very few teams in the NFL could match. The practical considerations of making this happen are complex but not impossible. Cleveland is motivated to move these players if they can get value in return. Both Bitonio and Teller are on contracts that would require the Lions to take on significant salary. But when you're talking about proven Pro Bowl talent that addresses a critical need, that financial investment becomes justifiable within the context of a championship window. The Lions have shown they're willing to be aggressive in pursuit of talent. We saw that last year when we made moves to strengthen the roster at the trade deadline. But here's where this situation gets really interesting from a strategic perspective. Dan Campbell has built his reputation on being aggressive, on going for it on 4th down, on playing physical football, and never backing down from a challenge. That aggressive mentality should extend to roster construction as well. When you identify an opportunity to significantly upgrade your team, when you have players available who fit exactly what you need, you don't hesitate. You act decisively, you make the move, and you give yourself the best possible chance to win a championship. The offensive line is one area where veteran experience and proven production matters more than almost any other position. Chemistry between offensive linemen takes time to develop, understanding how your line mates work, communicating in real time during plays, recognizing defensive fronts, and making appropriate adjustments. Bringing in veterans like Bitonio and Teller, who have played at the highest level for years, who understand the nuances of their position, and who can integrate quickly into an existing system, that's incredibly valuable when you're in the middle of a playoff push. Think about what this would mean for Jared Goff specifically. Our quarterback has been playing at a very high level this season, but he's at his best when he has time to go through his progressions, when he can step up in a clean pocket, and when he's not dealing with interior pressure that forces him to make quick decisions or scramble. Adding elite guard play would give Goff the kind of protection that allows him to operate at his absolute ceiling, and when your quarterback is playing at that level, your entire offense becomes exponentially more dangerous. The running game would be absolutely transformed. Montgomery and Gibbs are already one of the best running back duos in the NFL, but imagine what they could do running behind an offensive line that features 3 Pro Bowl interior linemen. The holes would be bigger, the offensive line would consistently win at the point of attack, and our running backs would have opportunities to break big plays on a regular basis. That kind of rushing attack doesn't just help you move the ball and score points. It controls the clock, it wears down opposing defenses, and it sets up play-action passing opportunities that can be devastating. I'm genuinely excited about the possibility of the Lions being aggressive in pursuing players like Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller. This is exactly the kind of bold move that championship organizations make when they identify a need and see an opportunity to address it. We have a team that's talented enough to compete for a Super Bowl right now. We have a quarterback playing at a high level. We have weapons on offense. We have a defense that can make plays. The offensive line is the one area where we've taken a step back this season, and adding proven elite talent would immediately solve that concern. So here's my question for you Lions fans. Would you support the team making aggressive moves to acquire Pro Bowl guards like Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller? Do you think strengthening the offensive line should be the top priority moving forward? What would you be willing to give up in terms of draft picks or other assets to make this happen? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because I genuinely want to know how the Lions faithful feel about being aggressive in pursuit of championship pieces. The bottom line is simple. The Detroit Lions have a legitimate chance to compete for a Super Bowl this season, but we need to be willing to make the moves necessary to maximize that opportunity. Players like Bitonio and Teller don't become available often, and when they do, contending teams need to act quickly and decisively. I'm optimistic that this organization understands the urgency of the moment and will do whatever it takes to give us the best chance to bring a championship to Detroit. If you want to stay on top of every development regarding the Lions' roster moves and strategy as we push toward the playoffs, you absolutely need to be subscribed to Lions News Fan Report. I'll be bringing you breaking updates, insider analysis, and comprehensive coverage of every decision that impacts this team's championship chances. Hit that like button right now, share this video with every Lions fan you know, and make sure those notifications are turned on. I'll be back with more exclusive information and detailed breakdowns of everything happening with our Detroit Lions. One pride, let's go get that championship.